Warm welcome. This is Markus Termin, the genius German astrologer, astrologisches Stundenbuch at the 27th of March 2025. Neptune is fastly moving towards the cosmic gap, as they call it. Mercury is retrograde, Venus is retrograde. The moon is in the sign of Pisces, getting ready to jump into its new moon position in the sign of Aries, and the sun is in the sign of Aries. We actually call this a balsamic phase because this is the last phase before the new moon, and this is kind of a general relief to things. But the relief isn't too majestic because we have a square position in between Chiron and Mars, Chiron in the sign of Aries, and then there is a positive constructive upbuilding aspect. This is the trine from Mars in the sign of Cancer to Saturn in the sign of Pisces. So what's the general energy of the day? What is most important today? For me, today it's the balsamic phase, because we are into in and out complications of any kind, the news aren't to be trusted at all from neither side, and the general approach to it, to get any information about what is happening, is very difficult, because what is the technique of getting people misled or confused or whatever? It's very easy. In the Middle Ages, you had censorship in the sense of, no, you're not to say that. You're not even allowed to read the Bible. This is what the Catholic Church used to do in the Middle Ages. Now, the situation of censorship is very easy. It's just about spreading out any news, and you wouldn't be able to decide in the big pool what is right and what is wrong. And the worst of it, it turns out to be that any political party is to be turned around once it is on power. They say the one thing and they do the other thing. And this is a situation where it comes to, for us regular folks, we're just missing the stable ground, and we're getting confused, and we mess up with a whole lot of our time trying to get these informations. On the other hand, it's also difficult to live without any information. If you're out there and you're just not informed about general movements, for instance, building up the military in Europe and things like that, you might not take the right decision. Having said that, again, I need to put out a general consideration about astrology. A lot of you folks don't know that. Let's have a look at the chart of the day, talking about that. This is the chart of the very moment, Middle European time. They are going to change it to summertime again, while summertime is the wrong time, and this is the pharaonic confusion that science puts out any other century. But anyhow, this is the chart of the day. Now, we are making a distinction in between the so-called mundane astrology and the personal astrology. A lot of people don't know that the personal astrology is the most exact tool to discovering and uncovering the hidden secrets of the personal soul. This is, if a person would be born in this very moment, and there are persons to be born in this very moment, individuals, to use a better word, human beings, then this would be their birth chart. You see? That means this person would be an Aries sun. The Aries sun would have the position of house 10. We knew from that the position in house 10 is a strong position, and it's a position of someone who has the tendency to rule over others. At the same time, we have a rising sign from Cancer, and the Cancer rising sign is clearly to be described as one that at least has the intention of giving out the idea of I'm with you, I have feelings with you. We have a Piscean moon, and we know that this moon is very different from the Aquarius moon towards the Aries moon. So this means the art of individual astrology is highly developed. There were genius people working on that in the 50s and in the 60s, especially those hippie astrologers were great, were genius. And this is very evolved. What's the problem with it? The problem is that the real benefit you get from this astrology is when you have an insight by your own. You need to get basic knowledge to understand it. And the basic knowledge is not that difficult. Even if you have a simple approach and you just memorize 3 points, just where your rising sign is, the sun sign, and the moon sign, you have the basic description of a character of a person that makes life a lot easier. Now, of course, there are persons who say, well, what do I need self-knowledgement for? What do I need self-understanding for? What I really do need is the dollar. The dollar is what I need. I need something else. I need a solution to my problems. Self-understanding won't give me any solution. This is the approach of those folks who are clearly grounded on a materialistic ground. And to tell you the truth, this is not really the strength of astrology. Yes, we can say something about tides coming in and going out. We can say something about good times, and we can say something about challenging times. But it's always the question of how are you going to position your boat in the waves? Are you going to get them from the front, face them right away? Or are you just being a nutshell, driven from left to right without any knowledge? This is the difference astrology makes, but it needs some work. As long as you get the insight just from the outside, from an astrologer telling you this and that, and there's a bad time coming in and good time rolling out or whatever, the real problem here is this is not what's the path of mankind. The path of mankind is building up more freedom, building up more individuality. And it's not done by just having passive results. It's going to be active, going into the knowledge. So this is what I highly recommend to say. Get some easy basic knowledge, understanding about astrology. It's not that difficult. And don't trust any astrologer who says, oh, it's so complicated, you need secondary directions, and we have declinations, and we have cosmic gaps, and we have this and that. Astrologers are mainly not very different from scientists, for example. They love to put out complicated phrases, so everybody will think, oh, this is deep, they have a high knowledge. It's not that you don't need that knowledge, and it's true that it takes time to get used to this special view of the world. Just like using photography, you need to have a lens, you need to understand what film efficiency is. There are a few things you need to understand, but from that, it's not very difficult. And what is really true and not understood, especially by other schools of esoterical wisdom tellers, is that personal astrology is the miracle of the present days. It's the only true possibility to understand the human being. We also can ask ourselves, why is that? Why is that? There's no connection in between the heavenly bodies and the human being. That's what natural scientists think. But as we learn now, their knowledge is not complete. This is the second thing. And the first thing and the second thing is that also we haven't got the complete knowledge about the human soul yet. My solution is very easy, and it says we are out there. With parts of our body, we are out there on the heavenly bodies already. First, from coming into the earth by being born, being born into time, and then getting out of time again, coming back again, getting out of time again. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. There's a distinction in between mundane and personal astrology. The personal astrology is the most exact tool of the knowledge of the soul. There is no better thing on the world right now. Coming back to mundane thinking, taking up the chart again, if we have the mundane thinking and we say, well, this is not a personal chart, but this is the very moment for everybody living on Earth right now. Living on Earth includes free rides around the sun. Then we come to the field of speculation. And this is what worldwide astrologers do. They do speculate, but they do not speculate on nothing. They do speculate on experiences and memories from the past. They say, okay, we have, for instance, Uranus in the sign of Taurus. Now, what happened the last time? When Uranus, for instance, kicked into its position of the very chart of the United States, they had the Civil War, for instance. What danger is coming rolling in by planets taking the same position or similar positions? And to watch this and to observe this, we have 1,000 methods, and every astrologer uses his own based on his experience. Now, to make it even more complicated, the positions of the stars do never repeat as the same, because if we take the position of Uranus, just to give you an example, it was maybe the same 84 years ago, because the circle takes 84 years, but we have a different position from Jupiter, we have a different position from Saturn in the sign of Pisces, we have a different position on many figures that we are looking at in the chart. Now, where's Saturn? Saturn is hidden behind the North Node up there in the sign of Pisces. North Node means this is where actually things are at. This is where things happening. The gate of the new is coming through Pisces this day. So you see the difference in between personal and mundane astrology. You could also say, why don't the astrologers just shut up, talking about what is happening on political matters and things like that, and just concentrate on what they really know about, which is personal astrology. Well, it is asked, and also it is human, to maybe have a clue about what is evolving in the future. And then there's another borderline, of course, of knowledge, because everybody has their own knowledge about timely circumstances, political stand views, historical evaluations, anything like that is happening on a personal astrologer's level, and it depends on how wise is the astrologer, how much does he know, how deep is his experience, not only in personal astrology but also in life, philosophy, historical knowledge. All of that is interesting and is considerable. I hope we do have an understanding here. I do love to make personal astrology, as I call it, Christian personal astrology, and I would like to do it for your personal chart too. It costs a little money, but it's worth it. You get a Zoom link, and best is to get in contact with this email address Send me time, date and place where you were born. You get the chart back for free. The consultation, though, is my business model. This is what I make a living of, and I'll be happy to see you as a client on Zoom or WhatsApp, for instance. Thank you for listening. This is Markus Termin, Astrologisches Stundenbuch, the genius German astrologer on the 27th of March 2025. By the way, I built these things, they look like that.